You're tuning into Ready, Set, Reset, where our goal is to help listeners reset their outlook by providing a closer look into behavioral and mental health in our youth. We visit with a range of professionals across the field to get their input and insight on what's really going on. Our first series kicks off with the Student Mental Health Chronicles, which features school counselors from across Texas, from public to private. This podcast is for educational and motivational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional training or personal therapy. Hello, and welcome to the Ready, Set, Reset podcast. I'm your host, Sierra O'Neill, licensed professional counselor and founder of Reset IOP. With me is my co-host, Mrs. Penny Haight, licensed professional counselor, supervisor, and owner of Counseling by Penny and Associates.
Hi, I'm Penny Haight. I am a former school counselor, and you are tuning in to an episode of our inspiring podcast that spotlights school counselors and the incredible work they do day in and day out with students. The content you will hear on this podcast today is focused on the struggles in schools related to mental health of youth, providing weekly insights, resources, and solutions to address the growing and ongoing issues that will support other school counselors, parents, teachers, and the students.
All right, our guest today is school counselor Ms. Shannon Caballero, here with us today from the Judson ISD. Welcome, Ms. Caballero. How are you feeling today?
I'm good. I'm awake.
Okay, hey, you glad you're awake and up and going on this beautiful day. So before we jump into things, can you tell us a bit about yourself and your experience as a school counselor?
Sure. I think I'm going into my 12th year of school counseling. I've been in 3 different districts as a counselor.
Okay.
Totally different socioeconomic strata for all of them. And I'm in my current position because I wanted to be with my daughter.
Oh.
My counseling experience is mainly middle school, intermediate school. The place no one wants to go.
Okay.
But my teaching experience was high school. And so I did have some experience in high school as well. So no elementary. I'm sorry, I'm not a little kid. No, there's enough tears in my house. I have 3 little girls.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that's kind of my background as a counselor.
Okay. So how's it going with the middle schoolers so far? What's your favorite part?
I really like that. My favorite part is whenever you kind of talk to a kid, like they're an adult. Like I know their names. Like I'm very good with names. Some of my counterparts always come to me, tell me that kid's name. I'm like, yeah, that's this person. And so I make it a point to do that. And whenever you do that with like a middle schooler, they're like, whoa, how do you know my name? Like they kind of freaks them out.
Yeah.
But then you call them that every day, call them by their name, and they're just like, whoa, somebody knows me. And so I think that's my favorite part, honestly, is just that they know that someone knows them, and they're not invisible. I even had one of my fellow counselors in my district. I didn't realize her daughter was at my school, and she kind of she suffers from high anxiety. And I walked by and I said, hey, and I said her name, and her mom sent me an email an hour later saying, I cannot believe that you said her name to her this morning. She just feels invisible sometimes. You really made her day. And I was like,
Oh, that's awesome.
I was like, oh my gosh, you never get those responses. Yeah. And so the fact that another counselor knew, and I was like, oh, that's good. So I think that's probably my favorite part is just getting to know them as people, oh, you're just a small adult. That's okay.
Yeah. Hey, it's that simple thing that goes so far with the kids, and out of, how many kids are at your school?
We have 1,155.
Wow. So out of 1,100 kids, they're like, hey, Miss Caballero knows my name, or somebody does. And again, not being invisible.
Yeah. What other things do you do to kind of build rapport? Because that's a great tool, but not everybody has that memory. Yeah. To remember. Yes. I guess I ask them what they're doing. I make sure I know lunch duty and things like that are just oh, other duties as assigned. You're going to get other duties assigned. Just enjoy it. Just suck it up.
Think of it as an opportunity.
Yes. And it is an opportunity, especially at lunch duty. Okay. You walk around and you find them and say, hey, what are you reading? Hey, what are you doing?
hey, are you trying out for the team? And like it really is an opportunity for you to get to build those relationships that you won't get at any other time. Because other than that, like actually getting in the classroom and getting to do guidance is limited. And so duty is where it's at. Like, so don't shy away from like, oh, I'm a counselor. Like, I don't do duty. Like, no, you do. Like, especially at the middle school or elementary level. So that is when you see their parents, like you see the student, like that's like, yeah, enjoy it.
You can get a whole picture of what's going on because you see them interact with their friends. You see them interact with their parents.
You see who's dating who, and oh my
Yes.
gosh, I knew that's why she was crying because they weren't sitting together today. Like, and like, I mean, you get to know.
Or and all the girl drama too.
Yeah, yeah. And that's probably the most is girl drama.
All right, all right. As a school counselor, especially at the middle school level, what would you say your biggest struggle is in the school when it comes to supporting your students?
I would say probably limited immediate access to like outside counseling. Um this district has actually gotten really better. Like we have um been able to like I guess get grants to where we're able to partner with outside counselors like LPC.
Awesome.
And so they can come and meet with my students on campus. We use something called T-Chat, which is Texas Telehealth and Metal through UT Health Science Center. And so the students log on, they have sessions in my office. And so I try to pick like like a, an elective period. And so that has been a huge benefit of having something like that online. But it's whenever students are in crisis, like there's four counselors on our campus, and I think that what would benefit us better if we had just a mental health counselor. Like you are the crisis counselor. Now that doesn't take away from my relationship with that student, but that does free me up to keep building relationships while this counselor works with their specialty of crisis. This counselor knows who to go to. Where do you live? Oh, you live closer to that side of town. This is a really good clinic over here.
Okay.
And so I think if we had someone like that on every campus, it would be such a huge benefit. I worked at NEISD and they have something called a stand counselor, and that's all they did. They did crisis.
Okay.
And it was huge, but it was one stand counselor and two counselors for a huge campus. And it's like, no, keep those three counselors and add, like, we really just need more. We need one specifically for mental health and like two for the every other days, or three. It depends on I guess, the demographic of the school. But
Yeah.
that is probably the biggest struggle, like of I'm being pulled so many different ways. I have to go and help this, run this spreadsheet and fix this, but yet I also have to come over here and drop everything. And so, because it's a priority,
Yeah.
and that's okay. But I want somebody who that is just their priority.
For sure. So with the new thing that they've implemented with the telehealth and the LPCs, is that a new thing of this year?
So T-Chat has been around. I use it all the time. I think I'm the one who uses it the most on our campus. Like I've got like 6 kids in it, and I love it. It is kind of hard to, like juggle the timing, but I think that bringing the outside counselor groups, it's increased. It's not brand new this year, but they've increased of getting groups to partner with the district, and that's really cool.
Are parents on board with that? Like,
Yes.
or they just are?
Oh yeah, because
agree?
it's something like if I have a student in my office who they've been cutting or they had like a suicide outcry, I can't tell you how much like it is to tell, but hey, your kid is going through this, but look, I have this resource that I can help you with almost immediately here on my campus, that you don't even have to pick them up to sign them out of school. Cause that's the thing. It's a hassle when it's like, especially lower socioeconomic. It's a hassle when they have to go and when they're leery. Like the online T-Chat, it's to kind of get their feet wet with counseling, and it is meant to be temporary. And so those who are like, counseling's not for me, it doesn't work. Okay, whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, you have those parents, and so like I don't know. I really like that I can just hand them something to start with, and then we have like some for the really heavy hitters. So
That's great.
Okay, well, that's pretty awesome. Like I said again, hopefully that spreads across districts to be able to have that, a little bit more. So next, let's look at what are some of the common mental health challenges that you've observed in students, and how do you address them?
I'd say self-diagnosis.
Oh, okay. Is that from TikTok, social media?
It's from everything, and I've even told this like one student in particular, and he wants to be a psychologist, and I absolutely love this kid. He's my favorite, and at least this year he's my favorite. But he'll come in and tell me, I think this person suffers from this, and I'm like, could you please get off of the internet and stop? But they do. They self-diagnose. I have anxiety, and then I'm like, oh well, I don't see a 504 or any. I don't see that. Like how why do you think that? Tell me. And so that it is kind of like a starter of like, okay, this person says that I suffer from high anxiety. I'm like, I don't see a diagnosis. Who's your doctor? Like what kind of treatment are you in? Are you in counseling? Like, and even parents will tell me that, oh, well, they have anxiety. Like, are you diagnosing them with that? Like, and so I think self-diagnosis and that the words like, well, they have anxiety and making excuses, not building resiliency and making excuses.
Right. I love that. I love that you ask them what's their treatment plan.
Yeah.
What are you doing to treat this? You have the diagnosis. Now what are you doing to treat it? Can you talk more about like some of your wins when you've kind of addressed that and maybe where they've gone and got help?
Yes. I have had a student who came in and they will tell me they had I have mild depression and anxiety. And I'm like, really? Like and I had brought the student in because someone had told me they were cutting. And so I was able to reach out to the parents specifically because of that, obviously, because we report that. But I had mentioned to the parent, I said, your child told me this, that they have this as a diagnosis. Can you talk to me about that? And well, we did see a pediatrician and my daughter thinks that she has this, but she didn't. I was like, well, I would encourage you to follow up and go and actually see a counselor. And so we give them it was like a list. This was when I was with NEISD. We did give them a list. And that parent did take them probably within that month. They brought them back and they did have a diagnosis. It wasn't like as distraught as they thought it was. And it was actually ADHD.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, okay, so now that we have that, we got them on a plan. And then it was able to kind of adjust for counseling too. Cause kids think that anxiety and ADHD are the same thing or they're not even alike. And some of the similar, but yeah, so that was kind of a win. The student actually got on medication and in counseling, which I always prefer. Don't just do medication.
Right. There's
both.
a lot of different avenues, even their diet and dyes and, all the processed foods.
Oh, yeah.
All the
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How late are you going to bed? Get the TV out of the room.
And sleep hygiene is real important, especially for that age.
Yes.
Okay. And so this next question that we're rolling into, it kind of speaks back to something we talked about earlier already with the support from the parents when you are doing the counseling, on campus and getting them to get started when the resources you provide out there. So, overall, how common is it for you to get support from the parents when the student is struggling with any emotional or behavioral issues?
I think it depends on a lot of things. Parents who are in certain socioeconomic classes have a certain view of either just the school in general.
Okay.
Anything the school says is like, oh, I don't trust the school.
Okay.
And so it's very difficult to even say, hey, I'm going to offer this as a help. I had a student who was in my office. She had suffered from extreme sexual abuse as a child. And I'm like, are you in counseling? And no, my mom doesn't believe it works. And it's so unfortunate because she needs it, extremely needs it. And I don't know I can't change that mom's mind. Maybe she's had a bad experience. I don't even think that she's actually experienced counseling as something that could help,
Mm-hmm. Figuring out how to build the rapport with the parents to get to educate them is I think, a huge struggle for school counselors.
I think especially at the middle school level and high school level, because elementary, oh my, it's so cute. I'm coming up for everything. Middle school, they drop off.
Right.
Bye. It is the most difficult thing to get parent buy-in. Middle school is the forgotten years of parents.
Mhm.
And it stinks because high school, oh, my shining star, they're about to go off. Look, everything that they do. And so those parents will show up for that. And then for elementary and then middle school, it's like no, there's nothing.
What are some things where you've been successful in getting some of the parents showing up, to be involved?
I will say, anytime we have an award ceremony, really, if it's an opportunity to shine on their kid and then we're able to talk to them about other opportunities the counseling does, that's probably the best thing. So if you're new and struggling trying to get parent involvement, really offer an opportunity to put that kid on a pedestal, for anything, even if it's just a character award, something.
That's what we did. Sneak in the psycho education.
Yes, that's exactly what we do.
Yeah, and you make a good point. Like I said, those forgotten years of junior high, of I'm so involved in elementary, then junior high, middle school, you're kind of on your own. You're a teenager, but then too, I feel like during those middle school years and high school years, they start normalizing some of the behaviors. Oh, they're going through the changes, or oh, this is normal for this age, instead of addressing it a little bit more. So that's the unfortunate part about it. But again, it just sounds like you're doing a great job with staying involved, trying to keep the parents involved as well, and doing what you can and doing your part. Because at the end of the day, that's all you can do, and try to reach them on that consistent basis and get the parents involved. So, Ms. Caballero, I feel like we've had a great conversation today. I really appreciate your time and you sitting down with us to just talk to us about what's going on in the schools and Judson ISD and what you've dealt with. I know you mentioned you've been with 3 school districts, so you've seen a range of things.
Yes.
You've had a range of experience there. So before we close, if you had one thing to leave with our listeners, what would that be?
I would say don't be shocked when a student tells you something. There are some moments that I can look back, not that I did that, but just okay, all right, so this kid told me this, let's go. So just be ready for anything to come out of their mouth.
Yeah. Yeah.
And have a plan, moving forward, staying calm and moving forward.
Okay. Hey, staying calm is a big one, because some kids will say things for shock value, but we've got to take everything serious and look into it and see how we can navigate this further. Because if they are, making things up, but it's what's the why behind this?
That's very true. And I can't stand it when I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want to have to tell this kid's parent. But you know what? That's not you. You have to take it off of you.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. I want to internalize it. And I'm like, no, it's not my job to save this child. It is my job to give them the opportunities.
Well, and I think sometimes when we are able to share with parents, sometimes there's a win in that, even though it's uncomfortable, even though maybe you had to report to CPS, or you're telling them really, some very tough language.
Yes.
Or tough actions that the kid did.
Reading some really inappropriate text.
That's it. That's where I was going.
I'm sorry.
But it's an opportunity for the parent to, and I think the way that we present that to parents is real important to hey, this is really tough to read or tell you what's said here. I know that this is not, what you want for your kiddo. And we're here to, I would do this before we even said what we were going to say.
Yeah.
And we're here to help support in any way, while also respecting your values of how you parent. Right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, ladies, I feel like, again, great conversation today. And that is all for us today. Thanks for tuning in and taking time out of your day to listen in on mental health. And remember, sometimes all it takes is resetting your outlook. Be sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Ready, Set, Reset 1. Follow us on Instagram at ready_set_reset1 for mental health tips, laughs, and motivation. And if you know a student or have a child in the Fort Worth area that could use some additional support, visit our website at sunflowersigma.com to see if Reset IOP is right for them. You will find the resources discussed in today's podcast in the description area.